In 1884, 14 powerful men sat in a room in Berlin, Germany. They had the maps, they had the wine, they had the cigars. And they divided the entire continent of Africa between themselves. No African was in that room, no African was called, no African was asked. And today, I'm going to tell you the full story, where it started, what they were thinking, and how two of the greatest kingdoms in West Africa were taken away. Stay with me because this one will change how you see the world. Alright, so first, let's go to Europe because that's where this whole thing started. It is the 1800s. Europe is going crazy with power right now. Factories everywhere, machines running day and night, ships crossing every ocean. These countries are getting rich fast. But here is the thing, the richer they get, the more raw materials they needed. Cotton, rubber, palm oil, and minerals. And guess where all of that is? Africa. Now, on top of that, these European countries have ego problems, bro. Serious ego problems. Britain has colonies everywhere. France has colonies everywhere. Even little Portugal has colonies. And German is the newest powerful country in Europe, and they almost have nothing. This is embarrassing for them. Like, imagine being the strongest guy in the room, but you have no territory. That's how German felt. The man running German at the time was Otto von Bismarck. Sharp, calculating, cool, one of the most smartest politicians Europe ever produced. For years, Bismarck actually didn't want colonies. He thought they were too expensive and too complicated. But then, German merchants who already had trading posts in West Africa started crying for protection. And Britain was moving fast. Bismarck looked at the map, he looked at Africa and said, "We need to move now." So he called a meeting that Africa had no idea was coming. So, November 1884, Berlin, Germany. 14 countries show up: Britain, France, Portugal, Belgium, Germany, and others. They sit down around a table and they start cutting up Africa like it is a pizza. They made one rule: if you can physically show up in a territory and control it, it is yours. They call it effective occupation. And in other words, first come, first serve. No African king was invited, bro. No African leader, no African vice. The whole continent being divided by people who had mostly never been there. And while this meeting is happening, Germany already has a man on boat heading to West Africa. His name was Gustav Nachtigal. Now listen, Nachtigal was no joke. This man was a German doctor and explorer who had crossed the Sahara Desert on foot. The Sahara, journey that had killed other men, he survived all of it. Bismarck looked at him and said, "You are my guy." He secretly appointed Nachtigal as Special Commissioner for West Africa. His official story: going to make trade agreements. His real mission: plant the German flag before Britain beat us there. So Nachtigal didn't hesitate. He jumped on a gunboat called SMS Mover and sailed down the West African coast. On July 5th, 1884, he landed near a small coastal kingdom called Togoville, right on the shores of Lake Togo. He met the local king Mlapa. Now, here is where it gets controversial. A treaty was signed between Nachtigal and Mlapa, but historians have debated for years. Did Mlapa actually understand what he was signing? Did he know he was handing over his kingdom to Germany? Because what happened next tells you everything. Nachtigal raised the German flag on that coast, and just like that, Togo became a German possession. People who lived there wake up one morning in their own land and suddenly they were living in German's land. So let's find out what the German actually found when they got to Togo. They found a beautiful land, rich soil, a coastal full of trade. They await people in the south, brilliant traders and farmers who had been thriving on this land for centuries. German built roads, built railways, built the port city of Lumi. They even called Togo their model colony, the only African country that actually made profit for Germany without costing them extra money. But here is what they don't tell you about that model colony. The people of Togo were forced to grow crops they didn't choose. Their land was taken, their labor was controlled. Anyone who resisted was punished. Villages that refused German authority were burned to the ground. Now, this is where the story gets even more intense. because over in what is now Benin, there was a kingdom that was not going to go quietly. The kingdom of Dahomey. Bro, Dahomey was powerful. We're talking about professional army, a sophisticated economy, political structures that had been running for over 200 years, international trade with Europe and beyond. And the most famous thing about Dahomey, the Dahomey Amazon, an all-female military unit, thousands of women warriors, trained from childhood, who were considered the most fierce soldiers in the entire region. Other kingdoms were terrified of them. When France started pushing into the area, building trading posts, claiming protectorate, demanding land, the king of Dahomey had one response: no. The king's name was Behanzin, and Behanzin was built differently, bro. His motto was, "The angry shark will terrorize his enemy." That's crazy. This man wasn't giving speeches. He was building his army. He bought modern rifles from German merchants. He got cannons. He sent his soldiers to attack French positions. He took French people hostage. He destroyed France palm plantation. It actually looked like the homie might stop France, but France wasn't going to let one African king embarrass their entire empire. In 1892, they sent a full army, over 2,000 soldiers, latest rifles, artillery, machine guns. They blockaded the entire coastline so nobody could bring the hands in or weapons. Then they marched inland, battle after battle. The Hansen warrior fought like their lives depend on it, because they did. The Amazon charged French lines over and over, even when hundreds of them were dying. The French wrote about their bravery in their own little records. They couldn't believe it, but guns and cannons beat bravery every time. The French got closer to Abomey, Dahomey's capital. And when Behanzin realized the city was about to fall, he did something that gave me chills when I read it. He burned it himself, his own city, his own palace, set it on fire with his own hands. He said, "If I can't have it, you're not gonna get it either." The French marched into a city of ashes. Behanzin ran off and kept fighting for 2 more years. But in January 1894, he finally surrendered. The French took him, exiled him to Martinique in the Caribbean, then to Algeria in North Africa. He never saw his home again. He died in exile in 1906, far from everything he fought for. The kingdom of Dahomey, one of the greatest kingdoms West Africa ever produced, became a French colony, later renamed Benin. When World War One ended in 1918, Germany lost everything, including Togo. Britain and France split between themselves. They literally cut Togo in half. Families were separated. There were people, one tribe, were now living in two different countries, Togo and Ghana, split by a line some Europeans drew on a map. Both Togo and Benin got their independence in 1960. And Behanzin royal treasures, his throne, his sculptures, his artifacts made of wood, copper, iron, and silver. The French took all of it when they destroyed the army. Those treasures sat in French museum for over 127 years. In 2021, France finally returned 26 of those objects to Benin 127 years later. So next time somebody asks you, why does Africa look the way it does today? Why are there countries that speak French in the middle of West Africa? Why are tribes split across different borders? Why do these nations have the economies they have now? It started in a room in Berlin with 40 men, zero Africans. That's the story they never told in school. If this video gave you something, drop it. Drop a comment. Tell me what hit you the hardest. And subscribe, because we are just getting started. See you in the next one.